I actually want to talk about how AI helped me be more human through this interaction. Because I think a lot of times what bothers me is I see people talk about, AI, and we see all this stuff of like, oh, we can create fake images and we can automate workflows and we can do all this stuff. And like AI is ruining the human experience. And it can. It absolutely can. It's like plutonium, depleted plutonium. I mean, it's dangerous, but it also can be used in a really healthy way. And yeah, maybe plutonium is not a good example because there's always nuclear waste, but maybe in this world, there always will be. But anyway, my point is, I want to talk through the process I used to actually use AI to help me have a more human experience with this individual. And I'm going to talk vulnerably about it so you can see that you actually can use AI not to shortcut things, not to cut over the messiness of human experience, but to enrich it, to make it more meaningful, to connect on a better level. So I'm just going to walk you through this as quickly as I can and just hopefully give you a framework that you can maybe go, wow, what a really creative way to use AI differently. And so what happened was this individual sent me a very, very long, and I don't even think they would argue with this. So if you're hearing this, hopefully you're not offended by this. It was a messy note. It was very hard. And by the way, okay, lest it just be on them. Of course, when I, as a creator, get a message from somebody that's very long and messy, my defenses immediately fly up because immediately I'm like, oh, great. Here's another person coming to tell me why I'm the worst person on the planet and I'm ruining the world and everything I say is stupid. And like, so of course my defenses go up. So almost immediately I'm like, preparing for battle, putting on the armor, going, all right, like I'm going to look at this, but like I need to make sure I'm emotionally and mentally prepared for this thing. And so had I stayed that way, I probably would not have read it well. I probably would have had a reaction to it. I probably would have heard and projected what I thought they were communicating instead of what they were actually communicating. And AI was a fantastic way for me to do a first line of defense to process it. And so I took this very, very long email and I put it in ChatGPT and I gave it context. Again, unless I just throw it in, I gave it context. I gave the context of what I do and where this came from and what the video was that it was inspired from and the position, and it had the transcript. I gave it the transcript of the video so that it would know like, hey, what things in here might they be reacting to? What things, whatever. And so honestly, if you think like, oh, AI just shortcutted it didn't. Believe me, the time it took to actually do it and think through, okay, here's what context it might need. Here are the elements that it might need. Here are the emotions I'm experiencing right now. And then I put the response in. I said, please help me make sense of this because I want to read it and I want to listen to it, but I don't want my emotions to color or cloud my ability to actually understand what this individual said because I respect the fact, and this is the part that AI can't do. I by default said, I respect this individual as another human being and I care about them because they're deserving of respect and dignity. And if they took the time to write this, the least I can do is take the time to listen. Now, can AI fix that for you? No. If you truly don't care about people, I don't know what to tell you other than change your mind because that other person is deserving of respect and dignity. But so I took the time to build all this together and then I posted through, and I'm so glad I did. Because its first line was, I don't think this individual in any way, shape, or form is attacking you, which immediately brought my defenses down because I shared with it. This is one of the things I'm struggling. Like, I don't want to read this as an attack if it's not an attack. If it is, tell me. But if it's not, help me understand it. And it did. It broke it down. And it acknowledged some of the realities of, yeah, it's a little all over and it's a lot and there's a whole lot here, but let me help you contextualize what it is. And it did. It did a really good job of breaking it down. And of course, in true AI form, it just gave me a little, here's a convenient message you could send back and call it a day. Could I, at that point, have said, thanks, copy, paste, send? I could have. And honestly, in today's world, I think even that amount of effort is probably a lot more than most people experience. And so even just what I described there, if you don't have 5 minutes, and I'm saying 5 minutes, I probably could have done nothing but take the context of what they sent me, put it in, and got a can you please help me respond in a way that's true to my voice? And got a little thing. That would have taken me literally almost no time at all. We don't even do that. And I feel like that in and of itself might have meant something. Now, granted, like I said, I took the time to do all this other stuff, give it context, bring these other things into play, try and really help articulate and formalize it. But even that simple thing is probably more than most people do. And that's one way that you could do it. But so it did. So it gave me this nice little convenient response. I went, well, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. So I worked with it. I said, can you help me break this down? And then I read it because at this point, my defenses were down. And so at this point, I actually was able to read it and actually read through it because it had given me some things that were trying to be communicated. And so I was able to look for those things. And I was able to see, okay, like now this isn't a personal attack on Christopher. This is someone sharing their reaction, their response to something I created. Okay, I'm no longer in the picture here. And now this helped me do that. And I was able to read the whole thing through it, which actually then gave me additional questions that I was able to ask, to engage with, and things I wanted to clarify. And I said, part of what I want to do is I actually want to reach back out to this individual and say, here's what I think I heard. But instead of me just assume, is this correct? Is this actually what you're trying to communicate? Are these the things you're actually struggling with? I don't want to make assumptions here. But AI helped me structure that, helped me pull that together in a way that would have been much more difficult for me to, given the length of this thing. And so I was then able to engage with that and then also be able to say, now I want to be able to write a note that incorporates some of these clarification points, mirrors back some of the things I've heard. I want to make sure I acknowledge some of this stuff. These are things that are important to me. Can you help me create a first draft? And it did. And some might go, oh, so you had AI write your first draft? Yeah, I did. Because it helped me do the clickety work of, my prompt was honestly probably longer than the draft it sent me. Because there were things I'm like, I want to make sure this is communicated clearly. I want to make sure I address this. I want to make sure I'm sharing this response. These are some of the reflections that I'm having processed what this individual sent to me. I want to make sure that's threaded in and incorporated into this. This wasn't craft email in response to this. This was a deep and thoughtful process to go through it. And it did. And it came up with a decent email. It wasn't the email I would ever send, but it was an email that was decent. And then I worked with it and I went, nah, like, can we revise this? Rather than me rewrite the whole thing going, nah, that wasn't quite how I wanted to frame it. I gave it feedback. I said, nah, I actually want to make it more like this. And I want to emphasize this point. And I want to bring this to the forefront. And I want to do this. And then, believe it or not, I asked AI what it thought to give me feedback. Here's how I'm thinking about it. What do you think? And I asked it, how might this be received? What things might be triggering? What might, based on what you saw in this thing, might actually set this person off or be interpreted the wrong way? Not set them off. I don't want to be offended, but like might be misinterpreted. And it gave me feedback, not just to incorporate. I asked for the feedback so I could process it. So I could go, yeah, is that legitimate? Maybe, but not acknowledging that would not be authentic to who I am or how I would think about it. Because of course, AI is designed to mitigate risk. So it's going to do its best to try and strip out any risk from things. And so there are times you have to make critical decisions and go, well, yeah, I mean, I could take that out, but then it would kind of like ruin the whole point of it. And so I got it to a reasonable draft. And then I worked with it. And I went, like, let me edit, let me copy. No, I wouldn't say that. I would structure it more this way. But it got it to the essence of what I wanted to say. And it helped me through that whole process in a way that pulled the emotions out of it and not in a way that made it robotic and static. And I think if you were to ask this individual, they would say, no, that was actually Christopher responding to me. This was not a carbon copy pasted email from AI, because it wasn't. It was actually my heart coming through in this. And so I sent it. And then so that I didn't end up going, oh my God, because you start thinking like, well, whatever. I asked AI. So based on the response, I shared with it, here's my final draft. I just sent this. Help frame up for me what things I might be able to expect in response. And it did. It said, well, it might be this, might be this. If you don't hear back, don't take as an offense to that. You really truly were as authentic as you could be. And sometimes people just aren't ready to respond to that. Like I was like, okay. It really broke things down. And I was like, okay, perfect. And sure enough, I've been engaging back and forth with this individual, and AI has been helping me process some of those things because we have very different communication styles. And so there are ways, and I'll wrap here, but there are ways that you can use AI to make you more human, to simplify the messiness and clean up the messiness of human experience so that you can put your time and attention on the really human things that matter. And I wanted to walk through that because I see so many people using AI, but not necessarily using it in a way that is enriching their experience and enriching the experience of the people around them. So, this is just one use case. If you found it helpful, great. If you just skipped it and said, "Yeah, I don't really care," well, that's on you too. But I think this is one way that you can actually really truly use AI for the better and actually help you think deeper and be more human than just pumping out more crap.